You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
And you can find our show online by visiting clearviewtodayshow.com. Or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text to 252-582-5028. Or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right. And we want you guys to help us keep the conversation moving forward. And you can do that by supporting the show. You can share it online with your friends and your family. Leave us a good, excellent, top-tier 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Absolutely nothing less for any reason. And we're going to make sure that you are able to do that by leaving you some links in the description below. And as always, we are here in the Clearview Today studio with Dr. Shah, who is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism. Dr. Shah, a lot of funny things going on in the world today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It would be funny if it wasn't actually happening, if it wasn't actually true.
Yeah, right.
Like you look at it on TV and it's like, that would be hilarious if it wasn't actually true.
I feel like, have you guys ever seen, it's an older video now, but it was a viral video of this little boy after he gets his tonsils out or he has some dental work done and he's just like
David
looped
after
out
Dennis?
on medication.
Yeah.
Looped out on medication. And he looks at his dad and he goes, "Is this real life?" I feel like that, like you turn on the news and you look and you're like, is this real? Is this actually happening?
It feels like something you would see on like Always Sunny or like one of those like absurdist shows where it's like, oh man, I can laugh at it because I know in real life that would never happen.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be hilarious if it did?
Yeah. And on today's episode, we want to talk a little bit about that, especially the protests that are going on college campuses related to the war going on in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just it is astounding. You turn around and there's another college campus and there's another college campus and where this is going on over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, it's almost like a viral trend that has caught on.
You, and I don't want to eat up all the airtime here, but I know you are a scholar, Dr. Shah. Dr. Shah, for anyone who doesn't know, is a text critic. And so you have spent a lot of time in higher education. And universities are supposed to represent that next level of maturity, that conscious choice to pursue higher education and better myself beyond just the bare minimum of high school.
Right.
It feels like they've become clown shows.
Right.
It feels like it's almost universities have become a mockery of themselves.
Right. My issue with what's happening in America, especially at Columbia since August 17th, 2024, is a little different. I'm not as opposed to students protesting, okay? In fact, according to somebody who went and did some research on how students have protested on university campuses, back in 1776, Harvard students staged what's known as Butter Rebellion.
Butter Rebellion?
Butter Rebellion because
I gotta go butter.
because
I'm so sorry.
they had changed the butter that they were serving in the dining hall.
No way.
Kidding. I thought
Yes.
butter was just a name that was just unrelated to the actual.
No. This
This
is
wasn't even
butter.
a protest. This was a full-on rebellion.
Rebellion. This is known as the Butter Rebellion. This is 1776. This is prior to our revolution. Okay, so students have done this. This is part of what makes students students. Of course, you need to study at the same time. You're young, fresh ideas, and you're like you have this this syndrome of I'm going to stand for a good cause.
That is true. Yeah, I was going to say that. Quick to a cause.
Yes. Yep. And then, of course, with the coming of the revolution in the 60s, fighting against the crown, of course, there were some protests that happened there. In the 1830s, there were some more. And, of course, as you know, in the 60s, there were protests on university campuses. I mean, some of them became very heated and people died.
Yeah.
Okay. This is different. This is not just your students protesting. This is so filled with hate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hate against the Jewish people.
Yeah.
The type that otherwise we would say, hey, that's wrong.
That's hate speech.
Right, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Now it's tolerated on university campuses. And these students who are doing that, I have my own view. I think there are sinister forces behind who are making this happen.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point, too, because it's not just protesting a war. It's antagonistic toward a people group.
Yes, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. It's not the war that's the problem. It's the people who are the people who are quote unquote making this happen.
Right.
So we need to get rid of them.
Right.
Not the war.
That's very
not the
different.
circumstance.
Yeah.
We need Palestine to be free from this people.
That's very
right. And I would say, if any of you even remotely try to compare this to the civil rights issue, that was about, hey, black people in America, African Americans need to have the same freedoms, the same rights, the same privileges we get to have.
Right.
That's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
Right.
They're talking about pushing the Jewish people, the state of Israel, into the sea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing in the civil rights movement that said white people need to leave. They need to get out.
Yeah.
It was that, hey, we want to elevate our status up. This is being masqueraded as that.
Oh, yes, of course, all the time. Whether it's in the whole homosexuality issue or they always bring civil rights. And to me, people like Martin Luther King Jr. would be appalled that they are being compared
That's so
to these
disrespectful.
matters,
Yeah.
whether it's homosexuality or this whole pro-Palestinian stuff that is happening, or anti-Israel is what's happening.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's not pro-Palestinian, it's anti-Israel.
Right.
Well, that's what is happening. I mean, students are calling for like their universities to separate themselves from companies and organizations that are backing Israel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're with them, oh man, we got to
You're the
take
enemy.
you out.
Yeah.
So why do we want to pretend that this is not a pointed or targeted attack? Why do we want to pretend like this is just trying to get the Palestinian people uplifted? It's like, no, it's not. You wouldn't be calling for the removal of Israel or people who back Israel if it wasn't targeted.
Yeah.
And what is even shocking to me is that just a few months ago, not even a year, right? Since October, it hasn't even been a year, that Hamas terrorists came into Israel, right, into the borders of Israel, killed, kidnapped,
Yeah.
killed some more in captivity, still some are kidnapped. This has just happened.
Right.
Raped. And today we are in an educational academic institution where you would think people are using their minds
Right.
to say, okay, so who's the bad guy? Oh, the Jewish people are the bad guys.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Where is the logic? There is no logic. There are sinister forces behind this. And we as Americans should stand up and say, absolutely not. We're not going to tolerate that. We're not going to allow this. It's wrong. It's evil. It's got to go.
I'm grateful that you remind us of that perspective, that there is always a greater narrative. There's always a larger force that's at play, because so many times people accept things at face value. I mean, they see a bunch of students on a college campus and they're like, oh, wow, that seems like a worthy cause because there's lots of people behind it.
Right.
Oh, they're saying Palestine should be uplifted and the Jewish people should be done away with. Well, there's a lot of them together, so perhaps there's merit to that.
Right.
No, there are forces at work behind what you see, and if you are naive to that, you need to educate yourself.
We organize events here at Clearview Church that are relatively small in scale compared to other things. And so you look at footage like this and you look at all these people who are there, and we have this false narrative that we're being fed that this just happened. The students just care this much, and they just conveniently gathered here together, and the sight of them together made other students who are compassionate. It's like, no, someone planned this.
Yeah,
someone wrangled these students together. Someone
Lots of
fed
things
them
have been
false
planned
lies.
in America over the past few years.
Yes.
And it's wrong. It's
Yeah.
evil. And we as Americans, majority of Americans do not go for this garbage.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
not for this.
That's right.
And we have to speak out. We have to be courageous. And we have to say, yeah, we don't support this kind of stuff. We do not support this.
Is it too much of a stretch to say the forces behind this anti-Israel movement are also leaning anti-America?
Oh, I believe so. I totally believe so. In the past few years, this has been the thing. And so they're all connected. They're related. They are coming from the same source. There's nothing like I can say, no, this is a whole different thing. No, these are exactly, if you follow the pattern, it's exactly the same. All of a sudden it begins to brew, and before you know it, it's so big, and and people are going like, what is this? Oh, wait, there's something happening here. Oh, something happening here too, or something happening here too. That sounds very familiar
Yeah.
in the past few years.
Yep.
When I say past few years, I'm talking about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The University of Southern California actually canceled its graduation over this.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was this
Goodness.
prevalent, but it's
Yeah.
everywhere. And I that's the thing that I think I'm realizing more and more the more I see stuff like this, and I think people really need to realize is these have to be organized. These things don't just
Yeah.
We're telling you as like event organizers, this is what we do. We work at a church. We have events all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan and Dr. Shah do that way more than I do. But what I'm saying is I see the amount of work that goes into even like I said, relatively small things that we do. Something like this that's nationwide doesn't just happen because people care so much. It has to be organized by someone with an agenda.
Right.
And someone with money.
Right. That's right. And to compare this to the past, like the civil rights issue from the 60s, like the Greensboro race, the policies, the racist policies that were there, and the things that happened, to say that this is the same thing that's happening here. They were fighting for their rights. Here, it's not just fighting for the rights. Here is a group of people were brutally killed, massacred. And now, today, so October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months later, we are protesting against the very people who got massacred?
Right.
Yeah, explain
exactly
that.
what it
Make
is.
that make sense. You can't.
Yeah. And anti-Semitism is a problem and has been for quite some time. And you would think that we're living in this post-Holocaust world that people would immediately recognize it, call it out. Some of these university presidents haven't done that, and I've looked at some of them and know what they believe and where they stand. Oh yeah, it makes sense why they do that. Columbia especially.
Yeah. It didn't seem that long ago that almost everyone in America were convinced that Hamas were terrorists. They were a terrorist organization. They kidnap civilians, they kill people, they kill women and children, but now they're freedom fighters. And I'm not sure how they've became freedom fighters overnight.
It's
You
a
know what I'm
narrative.
saying?
It's propaganda. I mean, it's a chapter out of Hitler's Mein Kampf. This is propaganda. If you know how to spin a narrative, if you know how to repeat the same thing. I read that chapter, by the way. I read
Really?
that chapter. Oh yeah, I read that chapter about 25 years ago. Yeah, I have read through Mein Kampf to see. I mean, what went through this man's head to do what he did or to lead the people, and it's very unimpressive book. But that chapter I particularly focused on propaganda. How do you do that? And it's quite interesting how to create a movement, how to focus that hate towards this one group, and how to rally people and repeat it again and again from different angles. And before you know it, people start, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wow, that's a chilling comparison.
And I really don't believe that propaganda is working. But this movement is being pushed and funneled and financed somehow.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm saying. I don't believe most Americans agree with all this. I don't think so. And even many of the universities have said, if you do this, we're going to arrest you. We're going to call the police. You're going to be arrested. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm very pleased in some ways. But at the same time, this broadcast is done so that if any of you are even remotely thinking this is okay, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe many of these people even know who Palestinians are.
So that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, these students, do we really believe these are pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist students, or are they just dumb students who've been paid or suckered into caring about a cause? I
think it's a mixture. I think there are students who are real students at those universities. And again, I have no evidence to prove this, so take it as it is. I think there are genuine people who are like, really, okay, well, I'll stand for that.
Yeah.
And not educated, not aware of the issues. And I think then there are forces behind who are making it look like a lot of students or a group of students are behind all this.
Yeah.
And I think somebody needs to do some investigation here. And I'm sure they are. I'm sure there are people out there doing that.
I mean, how do we verify that all of those students that are attending are actual students?
Yeah.
How do we verify that?
I mean, all of them have masks on.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
To me, it's like, okay, why do you have a mask on? Because you don't want anybody to know who you are. Right? I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, not every one of them here, but But
Yeah, I mean, I see several right there.
yeah, 5 out of 10,
Yeah.
at least.
Oh, yeah.
I would say 7 out of 10.
Most of them have masks on. They're all hiding themselves. They
Yeah.
don't. They know that what they're doing is wrong, but it's a chance to cause some chaos and get away with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And I don't even know if they're all students there.
Oh, I'm sure they're not.
I think some of them are just agitators brought in for that.
Well, that was more or less confirmed even during the George Floyd riots, that people were, when there was a shooting or something that happened in that town, protesters would come in from other cities,
Right.
because they know I can steal a high definition TV and get away with it. This is kind of my opportunity, and I think there's some level of that going on here where I mean, it may not turn violent, but I can go and do something. I don't have to go to class.
Yeah, I don't even know if these are even common thieves who are here just to take advantage of this. I think there are sinister forces behind this.
True.
Yeah.
Who are probably funding this. It's like, hey, you go do this. Here's your $100.
Right.
It's kind of funny because all the
Yeah. We'll knock this off your student loans.
Yeah.
maybe not all, but I would
even
say
if there's no student loan, here's your thing. You were sitting in a basement doing nothing. Well, here's your $100. Go act like a student and go do this.
Yeah, look. He's y'all should really be watching the video podcast for this, but
Yeah.
dude's just like, oh man.
Yeah.
And they're all wearing that same scarf too.
Yeah.
That's the Hamas scarf.
Well, it's a terrorist.
Scarf. Got you. It's kind of ironic that I would say maybe 95 to 99% of all these protesters are liberals on the left, or at least left-leaning. But they're supporting an organization who oppresses women, oppresses homosexuals, is clearly anti-Semitic, wants to instate a theocracy over in the Middle East. And they're like, we'll support that. They're all the things that we claim to hate, but we'll support it.
Yeah.
And why? Because it's against the Jewish people? I guess I just don't understand why the American left suddenly has beef with Israel.
Right. And that's I'm even wondering if even they know why they have a beef.
Yeah. This is what we've been assigned to do almost. That's the mindset.
I think you're 100% right.
That's the mindset it
This
seems
is what
like.
you're assigned to do. Go do it.
And it's not even the American left, it's students. Like,
Yeah.
why do students at
And I don't even
universities...
know if they're really all students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, we're not supporting Hamas, we're supporting Palestine. It's like, but Israel's not at war with Palestine. They're at war with a terrorist organization.
Right.
So why is the slogan that Palestine will be free if it's not Palestine, it's an organ? So
Yeah.
you condemn Hamas. Okay, cool, that's fine. But you still want Palestine to be free from Israel?
Right.
Why? Why are they related?
Yeah, I don't think any of that is really happening. These are agitators. Many of them may not even be students, but they are definitely there to cause chaos.
Yeah.
This is election year, cause chaos, cause drama, cause upheaval in our otherwise peaceful society.
Yeah.
Where people do care. Somebody asked me, do you not care about the Palestinians? I said, absolutely I do. God cares about all people. Right? But does that mean you have to be anti-Semitic to do that? Right? Talk to Jewish people. When our own friend that that we go to Israel with, he'll often say this, like, yeah, Israel should do this and that, and there are places we can do better. Yes, we should do better. I mean, he himself is saying that.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're here saying, oh, Palestinians are bad people. No, of course not. But lately what is happening, this whole anti-Semitic chant is the one that should be very troubling to everybody, whether you're in the college world or whether you're just an average American. It should be troubling to you that these are just ways to distract. These are ways to cause fear in the hearts of Americans. This is the way to harass people. This is just evil.
Yeah. We've talked about this on the show before, and you mentioned it earlier in the episode, but hatred toward God's people, anti-Semitism, is an old problem.
Right.
It's something that has plagued us for a while. Where else, I mean, other than the Holocaust, where else have we seen that throughout history? I mean, that goes back even to the Bible.
I mean, look at the time of Esther.
Yeah.
Right? Haman was waiting to hang all the Jewish people, Mordecai, on the gallows. I mean, he was gearing up the entire Persian Empire to kill every Jewish person. I mean, that's what the goal was.
Are we ever told why? Are we ever given a reason why Haman wanted to kill the Jews?
Yeah, he was an Agagite, and in a couple hundred years prior to that, the king of Agag had been killed by God's
Samuel.
people. Yep, that's right. That's right. And because of his evil and because of all that he was doing against God's people, so there was always that hatred that there's going to come a day will take revenge.
Yeah.
And here was his chance. But God turned it upside down, or right side up, and used this young girl named Esther to save her people, who at the time did not want to be used.
Yeah.
Right? She was like, I don't know. And Mordecai, her uncle, said very clearly, hey, look, help for God's people is going to come one way or the other. It's going to happen. God's going to save his people. And that's the reason why we're doing this podcast today.
Right.
Or this YouTube. It's because God's help is going to come for his people one way or the other. But you and your family will surely die.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, we should call our listeners to action on, is that this is not an issue to be on the wrong side of. Neither is it an issue to sit on the fence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if we like, let's wind the clocks back a couple of decades and take this to World War II, where it's the Allies and the Axis powers.
Yes.
Nobody's unclear.
Right.
All of America agrees that they are harmful and should be stopped.
Right.
Same with the Cold War and the Soviet Union. Even with like you talking about the civil rights movement. Like nobody, there was pushback, but nobody was like, well, this really isn't. I don't know what to. Everybody knew their side.
Something needs to happen. Yeah.
But there's a lot of Christians right now that's like, well, I don't know.
Just wait it out. It'll go away. It's election year.
Right.
Well, think about it. Because FDR, in my opinion, he hesitated for a while, right? He already had sent out his person to check and make sure, yes, this is happening against the Jewish people. They are being murdered in the gas chambers. Something needs to happen. But they're still delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They're still delayed for a while. If I'm not wrong, it was like 6 months to a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not like immediate. It's like, yes, there's a problem. Let's go. 6 months to a year? That's a long time.
Yeah. While people are being killed.
Well, people are being killed. And at that point, of course, Pearl Harbor happens, this and that happens, and then it's like, okay, now
Now we're ready.
we're ready. But can you imagine how many hundreds of thousands died?
Yeah.
So
Very true.
one reason for doing a show like this is to say, yes, just like God used Mordecai to tell Esther, help for God's people is going to come some way. But you and your family will surely die. But could it be that you have come to this point for such an event like this? Could it be that you have been raised to this position for such a time like this? So for us, maybe we have been raised for such a time like this to speak out.
Yeah.
That's true.
And again, we're not trying to be hateful towards anybody. We're just saying, come on, use your head.
Yeah.
Don't buy into this, whether this is real or make-believe, whether these people genuinely care about Palestinians, but what they're saying is hateful towards the Jewish people, and we need to speak out and say no.
Yeah.
But also recognize behind the curtain, there are sinister forces.
Yes.
Where the students need to just go back to studying. I think some of them need to. I mean, they look like students. But then some, I'm not sure. Who are they?
Right.
Who are they really?
Yeah. Your face is very obscured.
Yeah.
I don't know what you look like.
Yeah. Are you really, just because you have a backpack, does that mean you're a student? I don't know.
Yeah.
You may be an out-of-towner that's causing trouble. Do they have to show their ID to protest?
No,
sure they
no.
don't.
You don't have to show your ID
I'm
to
sure you
protest.
just walk
don't
up and grab a sign.
These days, you probably don't even have to show your ID to go to school.
Right.
To show up on campus.
So
and
how do we
start
even
causing
know? I mean,
trouble.
who are these people?
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not exempting the people from what they're doing, yes, but I think we need to take a firmer stance against people like this and say, no, we're going to. And I think many of them are. I mean, a lot of universities, as I was looking online, they've already said, you do that here, you're done.
Yeah.
Good.
We're arresting you.
That's a good thing.
And so, anyways, people need Jesus.
Amen.
It's what they
Amen.
need.
Amen.
They need
Y'all need Jesus.
Y'all do. Even God's people need Jesus too, and that's the point of doing this, is that we know that God has a plan for his people.
Yeah.
And God has a very beautiful plan for his people that we can read about in the Bible. And so to support them, to support them and even protect them as children of God, that's what God wants us to do.
And if young people, you want to protest, I mean, think about Tiananmen Square. I mean, that was a good protest.
Yeah.
In China in 1989, standing up against this dictatorship and standing up against the People's Liberation Army that came with tanks and tear gas. I mean, that's a protest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Standing for freedom.
Right. Don't protest in support of genocide.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that's the bare
That's
minimum.
not a cause to get behind.
Yeah.
Just in case you were unclear.
Yeah.
Right. Think about the civil rights movement. Yes, that was a cause to get behind and stand for the truth. There are other things, but not this.
No, not this.
I appreciate that reminder that we need to engage our brains in what we take in. Like, don't just accept things at face value. I feel like that's kind of where we've been programmed as a society with all the information that we get daily. Just take all that information in and that just, allow people to tell you what to think. But question it, push back, think about what agenda could be behind what you're seeing, think about a larger narrative, and know that there are very real forces at play who are against God's people and against the nation in which we're living.
That's right. And also remember that these are the people that espouse free thinking. You know what I mean? These people who are protesting, they're the ones who are saying, stand up, think for yourself. But I'm guaranteeing you that a lot of them have already been paid. They've been positioned there. They've been assigned there. And then, of course, more are going to come in like moths to a flame. But also remember to pray. Pray as God's people, that we're praying for this. It's not just something that we're going to go out and make our own protest and show them. It's never going to work. But God is working something behind the scenes, and pretty soon it'll reveal itself.
That's right.
And it's part of our mission on this show to not only keep you informed, but to get you on the right side. And again, I want to stress that because a lot of people will, I think, still listen to a show like this and be like, well, someone's talking about it, and as long as y'all are talking about it, that's good, and I'll pray from here. But to do something, to stand up. And Dr. Shah, if someone's wondering, what can I do? What can I do to help? What can I do to support? What can I do to make this effort known? What advice would you
Number one, I think you said it right there, pray. Yeah. Pray for our nation. Our nation needs a lot of prayer. Pray for revival in our nation. Pray for love and peace. God is not a God of turmoil and disturbance, and that's what I'm seeing here. I don't see people fighting for anybody's rights here.
Right.
This is chaos. Yeah. This is purposely causing disturbance that they're hoping will catch on and cause more disturbance in our nation, so that people will be distracted and fearful. God is not for that. And so we need revival in our nation. We also need to pray for courage in our leaders, that they will stand for what is right and not back down. Discernment, to know when there are really genuinely people caring for somebody versus this. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And so we need to do that as well. I would say to our people who are listening, watching, educate yourself. Don't be naive. Educate yourself. I had a couple of people come to me when all this happened in October. I had a couple of people come in and ask me, it's like, I've been reading things on Israel and what Israel has been doing. And I was like,
what have you been reading?
I was like, what has Israel been doing? I came across this site, and I'm going to send it to you. I'm like, you can send it to me if you want to. I'm aware of those kind of things. But what do you think Israel is doing? I don't know. That's what I'm kind of conflicted here.
Like, you're conflicted over something you don't even know about.
Yeah. How? What does that mean?
Right.
So somebody tried to twist their ears, and they were trying to twist mine. And so I was like, wait, let's. So we had some shows here. I even preached on it. And then the people came to me, gave me a hug, and said, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how I was going down the wrong path. I was like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. The enemy has an agenda. David, our one of our sound engineers, was talking about, where does anti-Semitism come from? Well, just think about it. God chose the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to bring his plan of salvation into this world.
Right.
To bring his son into this world. Fully God would become fully man, but he'll come through this family. Not because there was anything special in that family. It's because he chose that family. And ever since then, he hated that family. And in that choice, God has some promises, some things he said, because of this, I'm also going to give you this, this, and this. And that's still coming in the future. So there is this perpetual hate. I don't want to be part of that hate.
No.
I do not want to be part of that hate. This absolutely makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
How is this even happening?
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody is saying anything. Churches are just like, well, we're going to have a new series on something.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I think that the left has played that game too. The silence is violence game. I think they've played that too long. And I think it's time for people on the right to realize that's actually an effective game.
Yeah.
If you keep silent on this, seriously, I would say that you're inadvertently either supporting Hamas or you're allowing them to do what they're doing.
That's right. Your silence is a choice.
That's right.
And I don't even know if these are Hamas. I think these are very sinister forces that are against America.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the heart behind today's episode, and really behind the Clearview Today show, is that you would take the time to educate yourself, resource yourself, and listen to the larger narrative of what's happening, and ultimately stand with God's people. Like we reminded you today, pray for God's people, pray for our nation, pray for all the things that we are experiencing, and ultimately that we would come back to God. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you learned something, write in and let us know, 252-582-5028. Or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. Don't forget, you can partner with us financially on the same website. Become part of our Clearview Today Show family as we together seek to impact the nations with the gospel of Jesus. John, what's coming up tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we are getting back into our series on marriage and family. We're going to have perma-guest Nicole Shah back with us, so make sure that you stay tuned because we got a lot of marriage tips, tricks, and biblical advice coming at you.
Very nice. Make sure you guys tune in. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.